All right, everyone, welcome to the second part. This is part two of ASID New Jersey Student and Emerging Professionals Week. I am Jeffrey McCullough. I am the Professional Development Director on the board of ASID New Jersey. And that means I'm also the Director of Oversight of the Student and Emerging Professionals Committee, which is the committee that puts the 4 days of programs and events and activities together every year. The NCIDQ and CID program is so important to what we do every year. We make adjustments each year on what kind of programs we're going to give based on the experiences that we heard about from past years. But the one that will always be a mainstay is the NCIDQ and CID, no matter what. And that's because of how very important it is for our profession. As you can see, this is being recorded, and that is because we want to spread this program far and wide. We feel like every student, every emerging professional, every designer should have access and understand exactly what the NCIDQ and becoming a CID means. So it is recorded. There is going to be a chat box monitor, and we hope that you will put questions in the chat box, but there are going to be two moments of live questions. And so it is important that you have the opportunity to ask questions. So please take advantage of this. I can't stress enough that what we have tonight is something that everyone does not have access to. And so it's very important that you really take advantage. You will not get to ask the kind of questions that you can get answers to here tonight in most circumstances. You have direct knowledge coming from someone from CIDQ, as well as two recent NCIDQ exam takers. And really, if anyone wants to think about, who knows the entire history of what it means to become a certified interior designer in America, that would be Diane Gote, who's here tonight, and she's going to speak to just how important it is. So you have a wealth of knowledge here that we hope you take advantage of. So I first want to introduce the members of the Student and Emerging Professionals Committee that put this event together. If you are here when I call your name, please say hello so that people recognize you and see you. On that committee, we have as the chair of the committee, Mariam Abdelhamid. Mariam, if you would say hello so people know you and see you. Yes. We also have on that committee Jada Ruiz, who is also the student rep to the board for ASID New Jersey. We have Carrie Newman, who will be joining us a little later and will be the chat box monitor. We have Nadine El-Telkawi, who I also know will be joining tonight. And did I forget? Oh, we have MJ Divino from Kane University as well. Those are the members of the Student and Emerging Professionals Committee that put this together. We also have a really dynamic board of ASID New Jersey, and several members of the board are here tonight. I'm going to introduce them all, starting with President-elect Judi Crook, who you will hear from tonight, who will be sharing her firsthand experience with the NCIDQ. The director at large for the board of ASID New Jersey is Marilyn Watson-Laverne. The membership director of the board of ASID New Jersey is Paul Sarubo. The professional development director of the board is Jeffrey McCullough. And our president, I said Jada Ruiz is the student rep to the board, and the president is Marina Umali, who I would like to introduce you to now, who will say a few words as president of the board.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy to see you all here. And this is such a great, I think, topic. So I appreciate you putting this together, and I appreciate everybody who's taking a part in it. And of course, we want to thank our sponsors. We have our chapter sponsor, Design New Jersey. And I want to mention, and we're so grateful for the companies that sponsored this week. We have Samuelson. We went to their event yesterday, and that was fantastic. They're sponsoring this week. We have Window Treats and Sherwin-Williams. They're both on my mind. And I know we're going to have a great event with them tomorrow. So thank you to our sponsors.
Great. Thank you so much, Marina. Okay. We cannot, as she just said, we can't do any of this. The reason why all of the programming during Student and Emerging Professionals Week is 100% free and why we can plan 4 days of activity is that we have wonderful sponsors. And so throughout tonight's program, you are going to see and hear a bit about each of our chapter sponsors, starting with Samuelson. Samuelson Furniture is a fourth-generation family-owned company dedicated to providing high-end case goods and seating for the hospitality, residential, and senior living sectors. Over the span of more than 85 years, Samuelson's foundation has always been quality, service, and integrity. Ever evolving and on a mission to shake up the industry, Samuelson recently debuted a line of products that transform the lives of residents in assisted living communities that are designed to empower seniors and promote well-being through sound therapy, style, comfort, and more. In the video, you've seen interiors with Samuelson Furniture at the Four Seasons Hotel in New Orleans and at the Sheridan Savannah Park Senior Living Community in Maryland. Furniture by Samuelson can be found in projects all over the world. And if you have been following our social media, you will see images and information about the wonderful kickoff event that happened at Samuelson last night. It was quite an experience and really wonderful. If you ever have the opportunity to go there on a tour, don't miss it. So now I'm going to introduce Matt Barusch. Matt is with CIDQ and will support and advance CIDQ's policy agenda at the state and provincial level. He is responsible for monitoring legislation, analyzing threats to the public from deregulatory efforts, generating advocacy resources that convey the value of the NCIDQ exam, and developing strategies to support our stakeholders in educating policymakers on the value of meaningful interior design regulation. Prior to CIDQ, Matt held state advocacy positions with the National Association for Music Education and the National Court Reporters Association, where he advocated for reasonable regulation of court reporters. Matt holds a master's in public administration from Arizona State University and a bachelor's in political science from the State University of New York. Please welcome Matt Barusch from CIDQ.
Thank you, Jeffrey, and thank you all for joining. It's a pleasure to be here tonight to talk to you about the NCIDQ examination. So I am going to share my screen so I can pull up a presentation. Can all of you see that okay?
Yes.
Thumbs up. All right. So I am here, of course, to talk about the NCIDQ examination. Most of you will know the NCIDQ exam as the national certification exam that is required for licensure or registration as an interior designer in the United States and Canada. I do want to take a moment before we dive into the specifics of the exam to talk about why certification is important. NCIDQ certification is the gold standard for interior design credentialing. It is the essentially only certification that allows you to communicate your experience, your dedication to protecting the health, safety, and welfare of the public through education, experience, and examination. There is no other interior design credential that measures the practitioner's ability to protect the public in code-regulated spaces. And so it is a very important exam for those wishing to excel in the interior design profession to take. Holding an NCIDQ credential shows that you have demonstrated a specific set of core competencies that are verified by your work experience and a college degree. It is a career differentiator. CIDQ is currently celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, and in that span of time, there is approximately 37,000 candidates who have earned their NCIDQ credential. It is a pretty exclusive group. You think of the hundreds of thousands of people who practice interior design in the United States and Canada, over 37,000 of them are credentialed. About 1,000 people pass the exam every year, so it is a pretty exclusive and prestigious group to be a part of. Having your NCIDQ certification means that you can obtain registration or licensure in other states much more easily. Diane will talk about that very soon, but all regulated jurisdictions, with the exception of Canada, is require you to be NCIDQ certified in order to qualify for the legal recognition as a design professional in your state. It is a certification that allows for an increased salary potential in more professional opportunities. For example, most governmental interior design jobs require that you hold an NCIDQ certification in order to be eligible for that. They want to know that you are qualified and competent in protecting the public in your practice. So, and of course, in recent ASID State of Interior Design Industry Report, it was found that people holding an NCIDQ certification make, on average, about $6,000 more annually than non-certificate holders. So for all those reasons and more, NCIDQ certification is very important. And so I'm very glad that all of you here are interested in taking the exam. Here are a couple of things that we will cover throughout the exam. Basic information about it, the application process, dates, deadlines, and fees, and of course, resources that you have for studying for the exam, as well as some information about how we score it. I want to start with some news that you can use. We have in 2024 implemented new work experience requirements. I will go over that in a little bit more detail, but there are some changes that applicants should be aware of when applying for the NCIDQ exam. We now have a new resource called the NCIDQ Candidate Handbook. It is the primary source of information for the NCIDQ exam. The handbook provides candidates with everything that you will need to know in order to understand the certification process. So if you're planning on taking the NCIDQ, you should read and be familiar with the policies and procedures that are outlined within the handbook. And of course, we have now remote proctoring is here to stay. With COVID, we brought on the ability for candidates to take the IDFX and IDPX sections of the exam at home from the comfort of your own space. And so that is something that came obviously with the advent of COVID and it is here to stay. So you now have added flexibility to take the first two sections of the exam. The practicums exam, you still do have to go to a Prometric Test Center to take that exam. But we are hopeful that in the future, the practicum will be available remotely as well. Now, I'm going to start talking a little bit about the exam itself. The NCIDQ exam is made up of three sections, three separate examinations. The IDFX, or the fundamentals exam, which is all multiple choice and is designed for graduating seniors, recent graduates, or individuals who are in the last year of their post-secondary interior design program. The IDFX does not require work experience. It is more focused on the academic knowledge and information that you have obtained through the process of getting your degree. Next is the IDPX, or the professionals exam, another multiple choice exam that is designed for individuals with a minimum of 2 years of work experience and focuses on the practical application of the knowledge that you have obtained on the job. And then we have finally the practicum exam. It is far different than the first two exams. It is not multiple choice. It contains various question types that include hotspot, drag in place, fill in the blanks. It doesn't require drawing, and it's not software specific, so you don't need to know use Revit or AutoCAD to take this exam. You only need to be able to use a mouse. But the practicum exam is based on 3 separate case studies: a large commercial, small commercial, and multifamily residential case study. Each of those cases include a series of resource and reference material, like a project description, a floor plan, a reflected ceiling plan, door and hardware schedules, lighting cut sheets, and of course, code information. And you will take all of that reference information and fill in the questions based on your knowledge, your practical knowledge of obtained on the job, and using those reference materials. I do want to bring your attention to the bottom of the chart here. Notice that the FX and PX do contain pretest questions, and the practicum contains a few of them as well. These are ungraded questions. that are being pre-tested, but you won't know which questions is a pre-test question. So we use those questions to test and develop for future exams, but you won't know which ones won't count. So do your best on all of them. Of course, people are always interested in learning about hearing about the pass rates. And so this is how people performed on each sections of the exam during our 2 administrations in 2023. It ranges between 54 to 66% pass rates. So of course, it is not an easy exam. Any exam that tests your ability to protect the public through your practice is not going to be easy, but passing is certainly obtainable with focused and dedicated preparation. Now, at this point, I'd like to go into a little bit more detail on each various section of the exam, starting with the fundamentals exam. The IDFX, or the fundamentals exam, consists of 125 multiple choice questions that test on all the various elements of interior design that you would learn and pick up in an academic environment. This is what we call a snapshot of the exam blueprint. All the exam blueprints are done on practice analyses or job task analyses done every 5 years. Those analyses are a study of the profession and how our exam content is used in day-to-day application. So subject matter experts gather with psychometricians to determine exactly what you need, what job tasks and competencies you need to have in order to successfully practice in interior design and protect the public in your practice. And so these are the content areas that are tested on the fundamentals exam. The website does provide more in-depth information on and more complete exam blueprints. This is just a snapshot, but you can see the exam domains here, for example, programming and site analysis, relationship between human behavior and the designed environment, life safety and universal design, that's an important one, and professional development and ethics, just to name a few. The IDFX is designed for recent graduates of a bachelor's or master's program. This is designed to test your academic knowledge, so you don't need any work experience to take this exam. You are eligible to take it in the final year of your post-secondary program if you should choose. And I'll talk a little bit more about the application processes for choosing to do that in a little bit. But this section, you do have 3 hours to complete the IDFX exam. Next is the professional exam, the IDPX. The IDPX consists of 150 multiple choice questions. Is designed for individuals with 2 years of interior design work experience. And again, tests on the practical application of the competencies that you pick up on the job as an interior designer, working under another NCIDQ certificate holder or another licensed design professional. Like the IDFX, the PX is all multiple choice. You have 4 hours to complete this section, and you can see here some of the content areas that is tested: contract administration, integration with building systems, integration of FF&E, professional business practices, code requirements, all very important information that you would pick up on the job. And again, I do want to stress these snapshots of the exam blueprints are in much more detail on the website, and they are excellent study resource. Finally, we have the practicum exam. The practicum exam consists of 114 questions. Like the professional exam, the practicum is designed for people who have completed at least 2 years of work experience. This exam has multiple question types and is not multiple choice. Rather, you have hotspot, drag and place, fill in the blank. You'll be given 4 hours to complete this exam, so it's a little bit more intensive. And here are the 4 major content areas that this exam tests on. Now, after this presentation, I'll provide the slide deck to your professor so you can review what the practicum looks like. And I might even be able to pull up this brief YouTube video as well that shows you more detail about what the practicum entails. But again, let me see here. 1 second. Let's see. Okay. Now, where was I? Please note, I'm going to show you a video that goes into a little bit more detail about the various questions. But again, this section of the exam is not software specific. 114 questions total, about 4 hours in duration for this exam, consisting of 3 separate case studies. Now, I do want to mention that this is an old video I'm about to show you. Specifically, the number of questions associated with the case study has changed. So we do give a little bit in candidates a little bit more breathing room with the amount of questions that each case study entails. So keep that in mind. But here, let me pull this up here. Can you all see this okay?
Yes.
And let me make sure that I share my sound. Let's play this.
Hello. The following video will demonstrate the key functionality of the practicum exam platform. The practicum exam includes 3 case studies, one for large commercial, one for small commercial, and one for residential. Each case study has 40 questions associated with it. At the beginning of each case, you are given the opportunity to review the case study. The case study and supporting resources will be accessible throughout the exam by clicking on the Open Case button that is attached to each question. Within that case study, there are 6 tabs: the Programming Requirements tab, a floor plan, the lighting specifications, the NCIDQ exam codes, a conversion equation table, and a help tab that will be available throughout the exam to review the functionality features if need be. When a question, exhibit, or case study does not fit on a single screen, you will need to utilize the page scrolling function. To scroll through the screen, click and drag the scroll bar as necessary. When referring to the resources provided in the case studies, you are able to do a single keyword search within that resource. It is important to note that the search function will locate a term as often as it is used in the document.
So again, here you can see code requirements, floor plan, lighting schedule, all the resources that are going to be available to you on the practicum exam.
Therefore, it may require several clicks to get to where you want to be. You may also adjust the size of the different resources within the case study to move the whole case study to a different location on the screen if desired. To move from one question to the next, you should click the next button displayed at the bottom of the screen. To move to the previous page or question within a case study, click the previous button. As you go through the exam, you are able to mark a question for review by clicking on the Mark for Review button.
This is an example of a drag and place question. So you see here the graphic of the sink cabinet millwork. You have the terms on the left, and you have to drag the terms into the box that corresponds with the correct element. Drag and place.
At the bottom of the screen, you will be able to revisit these questions at the end of each case study. You cannot, however, go back to a question in a previous case once it has been completed. You will be responsible for managing your own time. If you break down the 3 case studies into equal time frames, that is approximately 1 hour and 20 minutes on each case study. The amount of time remaining for the examination is displayed at the top right-hand corner of the screen. A warning message is displayed when there is 15 minutes remaining on the exam. There is a note function that can be found in the top navigation area for every question on the exam. To add a comment for a specific question, click on the Notes button. The note will be saved for that question only and can be reviewed when returning to that question. During the exam, you will be able to highlight or strike through text in a question that you think is important to refer back to. To highlight or strike through text, click and drag the mouse cursor over the desired text. Click on the highlight button or the strike through button on the top navigation bar. To remove the highlight or strike through, click on the same buttons and select Remove. Note that the highlight or strike through feature cannot be applied to background images, case studies, or exhibits. A calculator is available with every question on the tap navigation. The calculator can be used to perform any standard operation for which a handheld calculator is used. The calculator performs basic addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. If preferred, a handheld calculator can be requested from the test center administrator when checking in to take the exam. Now that the functionality of the exam platform has been reviewed, let's look at the functionality of the different item types on the practicum exam. There are 3 different types of questions that appear on the practicum exam. These question types are drag and place, hotspot, and fill in the blank. We will demonstrate these different item types using the exam platform. First, we'll look at how a drag and place item functions. For drag and place items, you will be asked to select a symbol, label, or dimension from the box on the left by clicking on the token or label you wish to move. Drag the token and release it when the appropriate spot has been identified. Be as specific as possible in placement of the label. Double-check answers before moving on. If you want to select a different token, you are able to put it back and make another selection. The next question type is called hotspot. For these question types, you will be asked to place the target on a specific location within the image. When the location has been determined, click to drop the target. Targets can be moved again if you are not satisfied with your answer. The last question type is called fill in the blank. For these question types, you will be asked to provide a numerical response. In some instances, an exhibit will be attached to a question. The exhibit might be necessary to answer the question, therefore exhibits should be open to determine if they are needed. You are unable to zoom in on exhibits. However, you can move them to another location on the screen. Only a number is appropriate when answering these questions. Words or symbols will not be accepted and will generate an error message. Once all questions are completed in the case study, you will be given an opportunity to review that set of questions. All questions, only those marked for review, or incomplete questions can be reviewed when you get to the review screen. It is important, however, to keep an eye out on the timer to ensure not too much time is spent on the review process. Once a case study is completed, you will not be able to access it again. When you get to the end of the exam, you will click on Exit and that will end the exam. These are the key functionality features of the practicum exam format. Good luck on the exam.
I always like to show that video where I can because it's so very different between the the multiple choice exams and the practicum exam. So now I want to talk a little bit about eligibility paths. We require both education and experience in order to sit for the NCIDQ exam. Can everybody still see my screen down here? Okay. So we require both education and experience in order to sit for the exam. Education, we require 60 semester or 90 quarter credit hours of post-secondary interior design specific coursework in order to qualify for the exam. That's very important because those credit hours need to be interior design specific. That can be satisfied through a number of different pathways, be it a CIDA or non-CIDA accredited bachelor's program, an associate's degree program, or an architecture pathway. Associate's degree programs typically need to be supplemented with additional education. Very few of them will actually hit that 60 semester threshold or 60 credit hour threshold. So keep that in mind as you go through your certification pathway. Official transcripts do need to be sent directly from your academic institution to CIDQ. You cannot send it to us on your institution's behalf. That needs to come directly from your school. There is also varying amounts of work experience needed in the different educational buckets. 2 years of work experience is required for a bachelor's or master's degree, either CID or non-CID accredited. That goes up as you go through either an associate's degree pathway or an architecture degree pathway. All of your hours do need to be affirmed by a direct supervisor or a sponsor. That person can be an NCIDQ certified interior designer or a other licensed design professional like a registered architect. Now, I do want to talk a little bit more about the new work experience requirements. Those came into effect in February 1st of this year. And so what that does is essentially establishes minimum thresholds for our hours in each of these 6 buckets here, which represent various phases in the design process. These minimum hourly requirements represent less than half of the total hours that you are required to obtain, which in and of itself is not changing. But what we are trying to do here is ensure that candidates receive a more diversified work experience prior to sitting for the exam. This brings us more in line with some of the other licensed design professions that do require minimum work hours in several content areas. And we think that the more explicit requirements open conversation and collaboration between candidates and employers to further support their growth as professionals in gaining various experience and knowledge. So again, these minimum hours represent less than half of the 2 years of work experience that you do require, but it allows you to get a more diversified work experience. More information about this is available on our website, and you'll hear me say that a lot because everything that you need to know about applying for the exam and studying for the exam is on our website. Now, a little bit about the application. We do have a useful application video on the website, but let me tell you a little bit about how to apply for the exam. There are 2 different ways in order to do that. I mentioned that if you choose to take you have the option as a student in a post-secondary interior design program to take the FX in your final year of your program. If you choose to do that, you would apply first for the FX only. Your school would send an official transcript to CIDQ directly, either through email or mail. Then you would pay an application fee and submit your application. Once you do that, you take the exam, the FX, and then after your 2 years of work experience, you would then apply for the PX and the practicum. You can do that. So that's a 2-part application for those who wish to take the FX early and as a student, or you can apply for all 3 sections at once, wherein you would then send in your transcript, your documented work experience verification forms, and your application fee, and submit all at once. One thing I do want to make note of is that for this first application framework, if you apply for the FX only and then apply for the PX and the practicum after you get your work experience, the moment that your application is accepted from the FX only, you have 2 years to take and pass the FX before your application expires. And then after you take and pass the FX and then apply for the PX and practicum separately, you have 5 years or 10 exam administration windows to take and pass those 2 sections of the exam. So for the first framework here, you essentially have 7 years in order to take and pass all 3 sections of the exam. If you apply for all 3 sections at once, the clock is 5 years or 10 exam administration windows in order to take and pass all 3 sections. So there are some benefits to taking the FX as a student, wherein you do get a little bit extra time in order to prepare, take, and pass all 3 sections of the exam. A little bit of information about dates and deadlines. The NCIDQ exam is only available 2 times a year. We have a spring and a fall exam administration window throughout the months of April and October. So throughout the time periods here where we accept applications for the spring exam from August to January, and for the fall from February to July. You would submit your application throughout those time periods for the upcoming exam administration window, and you can schedule your exam anytime throughout the months of April and October. And again, you can take the PX and FX remotely. The practicum, you still have to go to a prometric test center to take those exams. And then some little bit of information about fees. Here is how it's broken up between if you apply for the exam in 2 parts or in 1 part for all 3 sections. Generally speaking, the application fee itself is a one-time fee. And once approved, your application is valid for, again, for the FX only, 4 exam administration windows, which is 2 years, because there are 2 exam administration windows per year. So 2 years for the FX only, 5 years or 10 windows for the PX and the practicum. That's for the first method of application. And then if you do apply for all 3 sections at once, you have 10 exam administrations or about 5 years to take and pass all 3 sections. All this to say that if you apply to take your FX exam first, you get 4 extra bites at the apple to take and pass the exam rather than waiting to do it all at once. One thing to note here, exam fees are non-refundable, but there is some workaround in terms of rescheduling you if you are, for whatever reason, and unable to take an exam on your previously scheduled date. There is a cancellation fee. There is the ability to reschedule an exam, but only within that exam administration window. For example, if you have your PX scheduled for April 1st, and then something happens, oops, April Fool's, I can't take it that day, you can then reschedule it to later in the month, but only in that month. You can't then reschedule it for October. You would have to pay an additional fee related to that. So it is very important to plan accordingly. Things happen, of course. That's why we have the ability to cancel or reschedule an exam, but make sure that your planning and preparation accounts for anything that you can account for, and be ready to take the exam on the date that you scheduled. Next, a little bit of information about studying for the exam. Everything that you need to study for the exam is available, or to apply for the exam too, is available in the candidate handbook and available on our website. You should always refer to the candidate handbook and the exam blueprints, regardless of the study material that you are using. We want you to be aware of any prep programs that you come across, any prep programs that you come across, they are not done by CIDQ. They are done by independent parties with no association with us. The only exam resource that you can get from CIDQ directly is those exam blueprints. And I can't stress that enough, because that takes you, remember those pie charts that I had on the slides there, that essentially the blueprints flesh that out in much more detail to tell you exactly what you are going to need to know in order to pass the exam. So remember to take a look at that, and you incorporate that into whatever preparation that you take. We also have information about study groups on our website. And my understanding is that ASID just recently has a prep program itself that they are launching or have launched. I think we have information about that on our website, as well as any study groups that are within your state of New Jersey. Here I just want to show a sample preliminary score report. We provide IDFX and IDPX exam takers with preliminary score reports immediately following completion of your exam appointment. The final and official score reports are released 6 to 8 weeks after the exam administration via your My NCIDQ account. So you won't know your exact score until 1 to 2 months after you take the exam. But if you do, have the unfortunate instance of failing the exam, which does happen, you'll be provided with this preliminary report, which shows you how you performed on each of the various content areas in that exam. So if you do fail, you get some feedback and some targeted feedback and tells you what you need to focus on in terms of studying and preparation for your next try. Now, a really quick point about jurisdictional regulation. Diane will go into this in much more detail shortly, but unlike architecture, which is regulated in all 55 U.S. jurisdictions, interior design is regulated very differently from state to state. In New Jersey has what's called a Title Act that allows for voluntary registration with the Board of Architects in New Jersey. So if you take and pass the NCIDQ examination, you are eligible to apply for a state, it's I think a registered interior designer title. Certified interior design? Okay. Certified interior designer. They differ from state to state, but if you pass the NCIDQ exam, you qualify for that state title, which is another way for you to communicate to the public that you are minimally competent and qualified to protect the public in your practice. It is a way for you to maintain your credentials with the state, keep up with continuing education. It is a system of accountability for you to be, as a design professional, held accountable for your work, which is really what we all want as licensed professionals. So it's always important to know that, if you have an NCIDQ certification, that is not your one-stop shop to practice in each state. You are eligible for registration or licensure in the vast majority of regulated jurisdictions, but then you do have to go and register with that jurisdiction. And Diane's going to tell you all about how to do that very soon. Now, a little bit about the professional organizations. Obviously, ASID is one putting on this presentation here today. All of them offer some financial incentive to take and pass the NCIDQ exam. I know that ASID has the ability for members to receive their first year of professional membership free upon NCIDQ certification. IIDA offers some financial assistance to those who have passed all 3 sections of the exam. And for our friends north of the border in Canada, they also offer, the Interior Designers of Canada offer a wide variety of scholarships and bursaries as well. So look for opportunities within your professional society, within ASID, for professional membership, for study resources, for exam preparation. This is a community that is dedicated to supporting and helping its members in achieving the professionalism that is exemplified by NCIDQ certification. Finally, before I end, I want to just renew the points on why certification matters. I do want to note that NCIDQ certification does need to be renewed annually in order to remain active, and in order to use the NCIDQ appellation, you do have to satisfy continuing education requirements and document those and send those in to us for verification. But that NCIDQ certification, that NCIDQ after your name, it matters in many different ways. Certification tells people that you take your career seriously, that you're committed to advancing and protecting the public in your practice. Many large firms require NCIDQ certification in order for you to be considered for promotion or senior positions. So that differentiator is very important. That element of prestige is very important. Your peers, both in the interior design and allied design professions, recognize the level of effort that is required in achieving professional certifications and will garner you a level of respect that uncertified designers simply don't have. The certification is, of course, highly portable. You saw the map of the regulated jurisdictions, all but California, except the NCIDQ for registration or licensure in those jurisdictions. So if your career does take you to different locations, being NCIDQ certified can help ease the pathway for you to practice in other states. It does provide more professional opportunities. I mentioned government interior design jobs. You have to be NCIDQ certified for those. And of course, clients want to know that you're competent and able to protect the public in your practice. And so that offers you professional opportunity that you might not otherwise receive. And then, of course, there is an element of leadership with being certified. I mean, if you look around around at the individuals assuming leadership positions within the profession and within professional societies, most of them are NCIDQ certified, and so it is a nice group to be associated with. Now, this is the contact information for us, our staff at CIDQ. We are always available to help you through your certification and test-taking journey. Most of the web information that you will need is available on our website, but if for whatever reason you can't find the answers you're looking for, please don't hesitate to reach out to one of us and we'll be happy to help you. And to that end, are there any questions? And I thank you all for having me here tonight and for your interest in taking the NCIDQ exam, being certified. It's a very important certification for interior designers to obtain. And so I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
There absolutely are questions. So Carrie Newman, our chat box monitor, is here. And Carrie, if you would read the first question that's in the chat box, so Matt can answer that and then follow up with the next one. And then after that, we'd like to take live questions for Matt, remembering that this is a very special opportunity. If you are someone who has any plans to take the NCIDQ exam, and I hope you all do, don't miss this opportunity. Okay, Carrie, go ahead.
Starting off with the first question, do you pay all the exam fees up front or when you go to take a certain exam?
The application fee you pay up front. So you submit your materials, you pay the application fee, and then that application is reviewed by staff. We make sure that you meet all the requirements. And then when you are ready to schedule your exam, that is when you pay the exam fee. So that is why it's very important to know and be ready that you take the exam section on whatever date you're scheduling for, because then that is when you pay the exam fee.
Got it. Okay, next question. If one decides to take a practice exam while still a student, are the practice exams administered in the same format as the actual exam?
I cannot speak to that because we no longer offer practice exams. We don't administer practice exams. There are some practice questions available on our website. But I can't speak to what the other third-party or organizations are doing with practice exams. I will say that the practice materials that we have on our website will closely reflect what you will see on the exam.
Okay, are there any live questions from the audience?
I do have actually a quick question. So what happens when you take the IDFX, the first part, and not take the second part in 2 years? Do you have to pay the fee one more time, or do you register, like pay the registration fee one more time, or what happens?
Sure. Okay, so if you take the FX first, you submit your education transcripts, you pay the application fee. Once that application is accepted, then the 2-year rolling clock starts. So once the application is accepted, then you can schedule the FX exam anytime within the 2 years after your application is accepted. Then, after you take and pass the FX, you have to acquire that work experience, right? You document your work experience. You would send in those work experience verification forms along with the next application fee. And then once that application is accepted, then that 5-year rolling clock starts for the next 2 sections of the exam. So the clock starts once your application is accepted, and you can only send in the application once you meet the eligibility requirements. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, but what if like in 2 years I haven't met these requirements yet? What happens?
So are you asking if there's any length of time between if you pass the FX and apply for the PX
Yeah.
and practicum? I
Yes.
don't think that there is any specific time frame that you need to apply for the PX and the practicum after taking the FX. The candidate handbook will answer that question if I'm incorrect, but I do not think that there is any specific time limit between applying for the FX only, taking and passing the FX, and applying for the PX and the practicum. You do have to have those 2 years of work experience. So you have to wait at least 2 years in order to take and apply for the practicum and PX. But I don't think that there is a time length or time limit that you need to apply for the PX and practicum after passing the FX.
Got it. Makes sense. Yeah. Thank you.
Carrie, do you have anything to follow up on that? Because I think that actually applies to you. Exactly what Miriam was asking about. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I think that sounds right. And that was actually my question with like the renewal fee. You don't have to pay a renewal fee if you had just taken the FX exam because you didn't like finish the NCIDQ. Correct?
I'm confused by the question. Renewal fees would pertain to somebody who is certified already, right?
Yes.
And
So like they've passed all 3 exams.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a renewal fee entails you've taken all 3 sections of the exam, you've passed your NCIDQ certified, you can use the NCIDQ appellation after your name. Every 2 years, you have to satisfy continuing education requirements in order to maintain that appellation and be in active status. That has a renewal fee associated with that. And of course, you have to submit your continuing education. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Any other
Great.
questions for Matt Barusch?
I have one question.
Go ahead, Demiana.
So what happens if you ever miss your renewal date? Do you have to like go back and take the exam again, or?
No, you don't. But your certification will lapse into inactive status, and there is an additional fee and an additional continuing education associated with getting back into active status.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any additional
have a
live
question.
questions? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So am I able to have access to the study guide of the exam without apply to it?
Yes.
To the
So
certification?
the candidate handbook and it's not really a study guide, but the exam blueprints, which is a detailed accounting of the contents of each exam, what each exam tests on. That's right on our website. You can go on there right now. I think it's CIDQ.org/study. That you can find it. Go under the drop-down menu for studying for the exams. The blueprints are right there.
Do you know if there are any changes through the years to this?
There are,
blueprint?
yes. So we do practice analyses or job task analyses every 5 years. And so this year, we're actually getting ready to do our next practice analysis. That will be updating the exam for, I believe, the 2025 exam administrations. So right now, the exam blueprints are up to date, but the blueprints will be probably updated next year. Something to keep in mind, though, it's not revolutionary change from exam administration to exam administration so much as it is evolutionary change. It's very incremental changes between practice analyses and exam administrations. So it won't be remarkably different, but there will be some changes between exam forms and practice analyses.
Thank you.
Okay. If there are not any additional live questions, I know there will be for live questions for Judi and Cynthia and Diane. or any chat box questions, Carrie, that we've missed, then we will thank and say goodnight to Matt Barusch from CIDQ. Matt, thank you so very much for taking the time to do this. It really means a lot to ASID New Jersey and the profession of interior design.
Always happy to do it. Thank you all for having me tonight. And again, please don't hesitate to reach out to any or all of us on the staff level if any questions do come up. Anything that won't be, we can't answer, or that the candidate handbook or the study guide can't answer, we will be able to. So thank you all very much, and good luck on your certification journeys.
Thank you, Matt.
so
Take
much.
care.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. Before we hand it to our next speakers, we just wanted to thank our sponsors, and let me share with you Wounded Treatment sponsor. We couldn't do all these events in this week without them. So a quick commercial from Wounded Treatment.
Okay. So now we're going to go into the part of the program where you all get to hear directly from those who have taken and passed the exam, and so that you can hear what the real experience is. It's all well and good to speak about it in a theoretical manner, but it's crucial that you understand it from a practical manner. And so that's what we'll turn to now. First with Judi Crook. Judi Crook is a New Jersey certified interior designer and a professional member of ASID, the American Society of Interior Designers, and she is currently serving as our president-elect of the board. With more than 19 plus years of experience, her project background encompasses luxury residential, multifamily residential, workplace, and hospitality. Some of the projects she is most proud of include a residence at the Beresford at Central Park West, the USA headquarters for Doctors Without Borders, hotels in New York City for Marriott, hotels for Hilton, cruise ships for Royal Caribbean, and the launch of the new Virgin Hotel in Nashville, Tennessee. Judi graduated from Parsons School of Design, the New School in Manhattan, with a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Interior Design. She applied to Parsons while studying design and interior architecture at UNLV in Las Vegas in pursuit of a childhood dream to one day attend a School of the Arts in New York City. Prior to pursuing her passion for design, Judi owned and operated a successful third-party logistics management company, working with furniture manufacturers, trade show exhibitors, military personnel for residential relocations, and more. Judi has earned the highest professional qualification in the field of interior design, Certified Interior Designer. This means, in addition to having a great eye, she earned her degree from an accredited university. She worked for many years in Southern California, Las Vegas, and New York City, designing projects in the U.S. and abroad. To expand and challenge her knowledge, she studied for and passed the three-part NCIDQ exam, and her education, experience, and knowledge have been evaluated and endorsed by some of New Jersey's most respected architects and designers on the New Jersey State Board of Architects. Please help me welcome Judi Crook.
Thank you, Jeffrey. I appreciate the introduction. Yes, and to add to that, I am now a business owner. So I've taken my years of experience and the knowledge that I gained by taking the NCIDQ exam, which helped set me into a great position as a new business, so that I can offer to my clients the best service while protecting their health, safety, and welfare. So a little bit, I guess, when I was a student is when I learned about NCIDQ. I was at UNLV. I was participating with the ASID student chapter. And at that school, we had the board give us a presentation, and they told us about the NCIDQ. And I thought, oh, well, gee, this is my second career. I want to be great at it. And so I think that, through my path, at some point, I'm going to take this exam to set myself apart, but also to hold myself accountable to the people that I'm designing for, to the public, and to myself. I worked for many years before going to take the NCIDQ exam. When I did, I took the IDFX in 2016. I used the Q practice program as my study. I was successful at passing the IDFX. I continued to work in the industry doing very large projects. I'm learning more of what I would need to know to be successful at the NCIDQ exam, or to have a better understanding of what I might need to know. So I was working in the industry, planning, starting to study for the IDPX and the practicum exam. When COVID happened, so the April exam session that I was getting ready to participate in was postponed to October, which was wonderful that NCIDQ was able to pull that all together for us and to help us get through that process. So I got a little extra time to study. I sat down with the Q practice program. There's many ways to study. For me, I found this was a successful route. So the first time, so I decided to do it again. It broke things down for me in a way that was easier to understand. It provided the information to me that what I needed to know for the exam, like what type of questions, what kind of information would be pertinent, because there's so much information out there. By using that, I was able to sit for the IDPX and the practicum exam in that October. I would recommend spreading that time out. I found it helpful to study for the PX and the prac at the same time. A lot of the same material is crossing over for those two exams. When I sat for the exam, I had to go to a Prometric center and sit, under the ugly fluorescent lights, in a little cubby with my computer, one single piece of paper. The calculator was on screen. The format that you guys got to see was very similar to the format that I used. And I just wanted to add that it is amazing that he showed you that video of how the prac happens, the kind of questions, the way it looks, the kind of information that they are providing to you. I never had that. So I was a little bit, a little less informed, we'll just say, going into it, and maybe a little bit more frightened. So you have that information available to you, which is fantastic, and that you're here tonight to receive it, and that this will go on a video for others to receive it. I found at the exam that you have to know your information before you go to the exam. You're not going to have time to read the codes. You need to know it. The timer moves a lot faster than you might think it will. So study hard, be thorough. I studied in small chunks, which takes the Q practice. Don't cram for this exam. Take the time to study this in small chunks so that you can absorb and understand the information, and ask questions in your mind about what you have just learned, and take careful handwritten notes so that you have something to go back and review. And it also tells you that, when you write something down, it sort of goes into your brain a little bit better than just, sort of reading, right? So those would be my tips for studying and taking the exam. I was scared I might not pass the exam, but I knew that even if I didn't, I would have had that experience that would have gotten me that much closer to passing them the next time, right? So I did pass the exams, and I was so proud. This is my second career, so I couldn't believe that I had accomplished this goal finally. And that led to such an extraordinary experience because now I was able to apply for New Jersey State Certified Interior Designer. It's a lengthy application, so Diane can maybe talk a little bit more about that. But research about the CIDQ, research about the CID, read everything that you can. That handbook sounds amazing. I didn't have that. Research and research now so that you know what it is that you're going to need to put on these applications because they're very extensive. So with that being said, I was able to apply for CID. I became a certified interior designer. I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud to share with everybody that I do business with. And I'm very proud of you all being here to be the best that you can be too. So thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you, Judi. Everyone, please put any questions you have for Judi in the chat box that we will have read live by Carrie during the question time. And then I just also want to say that in her role as president-elect, Judi has been part of the team visiting schools in the state of New Jersey and is a major advocate for spreading her knowledge of the NCIDQ and CID. So she's a great asset to us as a board, as is our president, who is also NCIDQ and CID certified. So please do know that you always have advocates within ASID leadership for questions that you may think of a month from now or 2 months from now or whenever it is. Thanks again, Judi. Okay, we will move on now to Cynthia Peralta-Brito, who devotes herself to transforming ordinary spaces into dream homes. Residential interiors are meant to be a reflection of the occupants, and Cynthia collaborates with homeowners to do just that. From traditional to contemporary design, Cynthia combines 15+ years of interior design and architecture experience to curate uniquely beautiful spaces. She attended LaGuardia High School, one of the finest high schools in all of New York City. I added that in. She's not that vain. But you should all understand how important that is. Diving into the world of art, from pottery, photography, painting, fashion design, architecture, and finally landing on interior design. She then received a Bachelor of Fine Arts at the Fashion Institute of Technology for interior design. Cynthia spent a decade working in New York City and New Jersey, designing residential spaces from Park Avenue apartments and Hampton summer homes to remodels and additions in the suburbs of the Garden State, harnessing the expertise needed to launch her business in 2019. Cynthia is an NCIDQ certificate holder, a member of ASID, and holds a New Jersey State license as a certified interior designer. And she is also a recipient of a 2023 Design Excellence Award presented by the ASID New Jersey chapter. Cynthia, we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Jeffrey, for the introduction, and thank you, ASID New Jersey chapter, for inviting me to be here today. It's a great honor to be amongst such great people. My NCIDQ story is a little similar to Judi's as well, in the fact that I decided to embark on getting my license a little later in life. I had worked in New York City for a firm for 14, 15 years and decided to make a career change. And in doing so, I thought it was important to have my certification in place just so I can set myself apart from other designers in the area and to provide clients that would be embarking new projects with me just with the ease and the comfort in knowing that they were working with somebody that had not only the professional expertise, but also the licensing to back that up. So I decided to start the process in 2019. I passed the first exam, and in starting this process, I knew I was going to give myself time, take a full advantage of the 4 or 5 years of testing so that I didn't feel the pressure. Being a seasoned designer and having a family, I knew I wouldn't have the time like other younger professionals had in terms of studying and practicing for the exam. So I knew I was going to give myself that time to take the exam and pass it. I also gave myself the grace that if I did fail, it was an experience and I was going to take the exam again the next testing period. So I passed the IDFX in 2019, and then the world, as we noted, shut down in 2020. So I had a bit of a gap in terms of when I could take the next test. What was great about that is that I can study a little bit more and, get more of that educational that I needed, since I wasn't in an educational setting for such a long time. I took the IDPX and then I actually failed it the first time I took it. So I'm one of those people that failed it and just said, okay, it's a learning experience. I'm new to, not new, but I'm getting back into testing again. And so I gave myself the grace to do that and try again. I did then sign up, similar to Judi, for online help with Q practice. I liked the format. I needed somebody or, a platform that I can go on to get chunks of information, set up, know that I was studying, there was a lot of material to study for, right? And to retain, and I wanted it in chunks. And when you're not learning, but when you're studying for tests, you think that everything's important, right? Every bit of information, you would think that it's important, but what was great about Q practice is that they sort of weed it out and consolidate it into categories so that you can retain the information. So I did that sort of in the midst of my 5 years of testing period. And in the fall of 2021, I decided, let me just jump right in and take the last 2 exams at once. And thankfully I passed it. So I didn't have to go through more studying and more, I guess, that stress that comes with taking a test and hoping to pass it. Again, I think that it's very important to become certified in the state of New Jersey. At FIT, all of our professors, they advocated for us getting our licensing. So I knew it was something that I always wanted to embark on and take on. I think it helps to legitimize interior design as a profession. It helps us to be, in par with architects and other, industry professionals. And I think it's very important to have that, as something to solidify what we're doing here with interior design.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. It's wonderful. You just heard Cynthia say that the first time she took, she did not pass. And I think it's what she said after that is the important part. I'm paraphrasing you, Cynthia, but I heard I gave myself the grace to study again and move on from that experience. And we have had that is not at all an uncommon story. You all saw the pass rates. CIDQ does not have any reason for misrepresenting the pass rates that they had on the screen, which was somewhere between 50 and 60 something %, depending on which section of the exam that you're talking about. Last year, we had a speaker who talked about his experience of not passing the exam and going back to do all the parts again a second time, and how proud he was when that moment came where he had passed all 3 parts. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you to both of you, Judi and Cynthia, for sharing your experience. And now we're going to turn it over to Diane Gote, for whom I'm going to read a bio. Diane is an award-winning interior designer with a long list of industry accolades and career highlights to her name. Before beginning her career, she studied at Pratt Institute and NYU. She went on to become the first certified designer in the state of New Jersey. I want to repeat that sentence. She went on to become the first certified designer in the state of New Jersey. That means she is CID 1. The president of the ASID chapter of New Jersey. and she was elevated to the ASID College of Fellows, the highest honor given among members. So when you see her appellation is FASID, that's what that means. Diane has worked on projects big and small for clients throughout the New York and New Jersey areas with award-winning results. Her firm won the Best Practices in the U.S. award in 2008 and received the highest award for residential design from the Community Builders and Remodelers Association. Diane received the NAHB National Award for Certified Builder Associate of the Year in 2016. Diane is a wealth of knowledge, and I am happy to turn the floor over to her now. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you, Jeffrey. It's an honor to be with all of my colleagues here. It's truly, I feel blessed to have been asked to help you with the qualifications for the CID. Jeffrey was saying when we started out that we wonder, he and I, why so many people pass the NCIDQ and then just don't take the next step to become CID qualified in New Jersey. It's an amazing thing to me because it's simply filling out an application with all your credentials and sending it into the state. And it takes maybe 4 months, 3-4 months, and they'll get back to you and you're in. They'll answer any question that you have. So it's amazing to us why more people don't, qualified people don't bother to go to the next level. And so I'm encouraging anybody who has that opportunity to do so. I just want a question you all might ask yourself. How do I do the best in interior design, right? What is the best way to do that best work? And it's first to get the best credentials. So just like architects, just like engineers, just like lighting designers, whatever, it's the highest credential you can get. And that is through getting your state certification. Matt spoke to us about all the different states and the variety of legislation that has gone on in different states. And there is a variety of legislation. I'm going to give you a little background here. But I'm going to ask another question. When you describe interior design to your clients who sometimes don't understand all the great work that interior designers and the complicated efforts that we all go through, what is interior design? Is it a trade? Is it a business? Is it an industry? Is it all three? Right? You all know the answer to this. It's really a profession. It's truly a profession. And it's a highly skilled profession. Interior designers are directly involved from start to finish in all major stages, all major phases of construction and renovation. We in our field do a lot of that, right? A lot of the projects now are doing renovation for sure, but also in new construction. And we work alongside architects, engineers, developers, and contractors every single day, probably, right? So I just want to tell you about my own history. I started out in the field. Maybe while I was studying, I did some part-time work and then worked for an architect. And during that time, I was able to speak with them about the problems on the field. I got out to do field inspections with him and the staff there. I got to find out what the contractors were having problems with, what the clients were in questioning. And it was such a great opportunity. And I recommend it to anybody to get a proper perspective on our field. So I started out in working for architects. And then I took the NCIDQ exam. And I really, I just devoted myself to, and it took me 6 months. I spent 6 months just devoted to studying for this while, of course, I was working during the day. But I really spent 6 months, and that's what I think people have to understand. It's a portion of your time that you directly, devote to your NCIDQ exam. It's our qualifying exam, right? You have the 3 E's, the education, the experience, and the examination. And our state gives a certification, right, to interior designers, which is their highest level of qualification for the interior design community. It is one of 30 states in the US who has laws for certification and for licensing, right? And so the last 4 states, I'll give you a little history. Recently, we got our certification earlier on in the state, but North Carolina in 21, Wisconsin in 22, Illinois in 22, Iowa in 23. And so we used to be apart from architects on this. They have now, the AIA and NCARB has joined with the interior design professional community in making sure that the interior designer is regulated in the entire country and Canada as well. So I just wanted to keep, make sure you understood that we were early on doing that. And there are 312 active CIDs in New Jersey. And some of those 312 mostly are interior designers, but there are some architects who are also CIDs. This law in New Jersey was developed by interior designers just like yourselves. We formed a coalition, the New Jersey Coalition for Interior Design Legislation, and it was like-minded designers who wanted to have that professional designation. We joined together in the coalition. We got a bill written, right? We got a formal bill written. That bill had to go before the legislative committees in Trenton. I had to appear in front of senators, so did people on my committee at the time. And then we got the bill approved by the governor. It took 4 governors to get it signed. We had to make sure it appealed to all parts of the population for the health, safety, and welfare of the general public. And so we were very proud of the certification in New Jersey. And that's why I really want all NCIDQ qualified people to also go ahead and get the CID qualification. You saw the United States with all the different states, that many of them have titling, certification, and practice acts, and they vary a little bit across the state. Now, what's the advantage to you? If you're a CID in New Jersey, you have a heads up. If you move to Pennsylvania, well, not Pennsylvania in particular, but if you moved across the country to the other 30 states, you have an easier time of getting your qualifications accepted. Just like architects, and they move state to state, all the laws are a little different, but if they already are licensed in one state, it's an easier time to get that certification in the particular state you move to. So that's kind of another benefit. What I've seen with employers, right? If you have a CID after your name, and my name has the NCIDQ and the CID, as well as my licensing number, right? And when I sign documents, I sign my name, I put the licensing number and the date of that signature on the plan, just like architects. Employers benefit by having IDs, interior designers who are certified. An employer then has an additional way of figuring out one interior designer from another. They can rely on them to competently execute project work. And they boost the company's reputation by having such highly qualified interior designers. They've proven their qualifications by knowing codes, the current codes, and they've been established to protect the health, safety, and welfare. The state of New Jersey, just like a lot of the other title of those certified states, also is concerned about their public and the fact that their public has a health, safety, and welfare concern. So that's the main reason why you would go on and get a CID for yourselves. Let's see. Your sense of confidence and the knowledge. This is really what the NCIDQ has given me in the CID. You know that you've achieved the highest level for yourself in your field. And when you do that, it gives you a sense of confidence that it will be evident in how you handle yourself on the job, especially with architects and engineers. The State Board of Architects and Engineers and Interior Designers works together because they all know they have the proper qualifications to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. I don't know if I have any more time, but I'd like to talk about how you apply for the NCIDQ. May I do that, Jeffrey? Do I have enough time?
Absolutely, yes, you absolutely do. Yes.
Okay.
Please do.
So, so say you're NCIDQ qualified and you want to become CID. You have to you have to send a request in writing to the Division of Consumer Affairs in the state of New Jersey. So you go on the state website and you request an application. The application is for a CID designer, and it's pursuant to New Jersey law 45:3.38. What this is, you just fill in your name, it fills in your qualifications, a few basic questions. It's nothing difficult. It asks some legal questions like, were you in jail or not? I hope not. And then if you finish the NCIDQ exam and your NCIDQ number, your educational background, and then the names of the colleges and universities you've attended. Then you have to know that if you're a 5-year student, then you must complete at least 1 year of diversified interior design services, which means you can't do, one kind of interior design. You have to have a diversified background. So I would recommend that you all go ahead and try to get that diversified education. You could be a graduate from a 4-year interior design program, and then you have 2 years of diversified interior design experience. If you're a graduate from a 2-year interior design program, you must demonstrate 4 years of diversified interior design program. If you successfully completed 3 years of interior design curriculum, which is comprised of 90 semester credits, or at least 60 semester credits or the equivalent, then you must demonstrate 3 years of diversified interior design experience. This is all written down in the application, so it's nothing you have to remember right now. So that's really, your background. Then you need some references. You need 2 personal references, can't be your family, and you need a professional reference. That professional reference could be a CID. It could be, an architect or whoever has got a qualification by the state. So I would say that with the professional reference, the important thing is that they know your work or can vouch for your work, and they have to have been aware of that for a period of time. Okay, so what do you have to do to perform? You need the preparation and administration of drawings, schedules, specifications, stuff we all do, furnishings, layouts, non-load bearing partitions, fixtures, cabinetry, lighting location and type, outlet location and type, switch location and type, finishes, materials, and interior construction. This is very important. Material related or materially affecting the building systems, not affecting the building systems. So that is the work of an interior designer, basically, right? Then you sign it, you get it notarized, and you send it into the state. So 4 months after that, and you get an application return. Hopefully successfully. All right. So I would love to answer any questions if you have any.
Yes, Diane, thank you so much. Such a wealth of knowledge. It's incredible and we need it. So we appreciate it so much. Before I'd like for you all to please, I mean, you really got this golden opportunity. So I saw that there are several questions actually in the chat box. So that's wonderful. Before we go into our final question and answer round, Miriam is going to introduce our final sponsor video, and then we are going to take live questions and chat box questions for Diane, Judi, and Cynthia. Go ahead,
Yep.
Miriam.
So not to forget our sponsor, Sherwin-Williams. The video might be a little bit high volume, so if you want to lower your volume a little bit so you're not shocked when I play it. I'm sharing now, and 1, 2, 3, go.
All right,
Thank
thank you, Miriam. Okay, Carrie, why don't we do the same thing we did before? If you don't mind, Carrie, would you read one by one and give all three of the panelists, Diane, Cynthia, and Judi, an opportunity to answer each question that you read?
Sure. So, question for Judi. Did you take all 3 exams during the same testing period? If so, what made you decide to do it that way?
I took the IDFX first because I didn't have a complete, I had many years of experience, but I didn't have the right type of experience, if that makes sense. That qualified. So subsequently, I took the PX and the practicum, both in the same session of October, but I split them apart like towards the beginning of the month and towards the end of the month so that I had to, I had time to prepare for the second one, right, in between and to refresh my memory. But I liked taking those 2 together because they covered some of the same material. So when I studied, it was all coming together at once.
Makes sense. Question for the group, I guess. Other than studying, do you think working longer in the industry helped you gain further knowledge that allowed you to be successful on the exam? And what is your advice for someone who's fresh out of college who wants to pursue the NCIDQ certification?
Wants to take that
Do
one.
you want me to comment on that one?
Yeah, go ahead, Cynthia. Why don't you each take it? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that taking on, like, for me personally, the online course and study sessions was, a huge game changer. Again, because it weeded out that information that wasn't so pertinent to the exam itself, and it had me concentrate on those important questions that would ensure that I would be able to pass the test. So I think that, if you're able to sign up for, there's virtual, I did it virtually since it happened during the pandemic. And that's really was huge for me. I think for somebody fresh out of college, I still think you should go on the path of becoming a certified interior designer. Obviously, you're going to have to get your work experience in place, whether you want to start right away and do the FX and give yourself that two years to gain the work experience. It really depends on, I think it's all personal. But I think that you should do it fresh out of college because there's something about, you're just getting out of the school experience and the setting and the testing setting, and you still have that ingrained in you, so that if you get it over with, earlier on versus waiting a little bit longer, I think it's going to be more helpful and ensure your success in passing those exams earlier on.
Judi or
I
Diane?
agree with Cynthia for sure. It's very hard to kind of start studying again. It's doable, but if you're on a roll and you're used to the studying process, it is a little easier. But
Marina, did you take the first part right after finishing your
So
degree?
I'm feeling really old because I took my exam in 2009. And I think Judi mentioned the bad lighting. I took it at I think Hotel Pennsylvania across the Penn Station.
Which is
In a
destroyed now.
basement with like really creepy dark lighting, with a table that somebody must have had like 1,000 cats scratch, like where we put the paper. It was all hand draft. I feel like it wasn't even 2009. I feel like I'm talking about like 1889. It was under really strange circumstances. So, it sounds like it definitely got a little fancier. I'm not sure if it got easier, but I think, yeah, so I took it all at once. It wasn't, it was difficult. It's a difficult exam. But what I always recommend for everyone, anytime I spoke to Marilyn about it, I think getting like a study group of just someone else or someone else that's studying for it, just to have somebody to, kind of bounce off of, and like kind of have that partner to kind of keep you going, whether it's one person or two. And I think that's what helped me. We had a good like group of people that were studying for this exam at the same time. And I think, again, just even getting together and studying together, that was helpful. Yeah, so that's my biggest recommendation, to just do it. I was watching, hearing about it, and I was getting overwhelmed, and I've done it. And I was like, wow, that's a lot. So I wonder what the students are feeling now, because that seemed like, did I do it? Like, can I do it? But I think it's just like, once you're doing it, just start, right? Like once you're doing it, like Diane was saying, like, how come people don't send this application? And it feels probably overwhelming. So my advice is just to start. And once you get into it, you just do it.
I remember last year, Diane had a really phenomenal speaker in the role that Judi and Cynthia played tonight, equally as well. And she talked about, for her, it was she felt like having an accountability partner
Exactly.
made a huge difference for her. And
100%.
that they communicated constantly. And so it was that act of knowing that we're not doing this alone. And there was an accountability partner that would say, okay, what chapter did you study today? What chapter did you look at? And that it really helped her in preparing the whole time.
That's like, I think, my biggest advice, because you're not really, I mean, you're just kind of studying separately, but again, just just somebody asking you, did you do this today? Like, did you do it this week? Because otherwise you're just going to keep postponing it, I think. So yes, it's really helpful to have somebody kind of check up on you.
Go. I see we have several more questions, Carrie. So you want to read out another one and let the panel answer it? Are you there, Carrie?
Carrie, you muted.
Sorry, thank you. So Judi and Cynthia, I think you both mentioned changing careers, and we have a question. If someone is thinking of doing the same, what would you recommend to do to start practicing? And would you recommend getting your certification much later after gaining experience?
Recommending doing from a technical field, what would you recommend do to practicing? Experience. This kind of goes a little bit to the other question as well. So I'll tap into that. I think that, yes, while you're in study mode, you should definitely start pursuing the IDFX. Plus the knowledge that you're getting in a lot of your educational programs is covering some of the same information that when you go out into the world, that firm may not have you doing all of these things. They may have you in certain roles as in certain parts of the process of design. So when it comes to whether or not you should wait to get more and more and more experience to be more successful on the exam, I would say it depends on what kind of experience that you're getting. If you're sitting there doing CAD all day long, every day, you're getting some of the experience in handling, kind of these types of solutions, but you haven't gotten the full picture. So I think it's kind of incumbent upon each one of us as individuals to make sure that in our employment that we get to learn everything that we can by showing interest in learning new things with our employers. I think it's important that you have mentors and other people in the trades and professions in the world that you can go to and ask questions. Maybe it's a family member or a friend. Definitely the study group and the accountability, all of that. When I switched careers, I wanted to do something that I loved. So if you're thinking, and I loved my last career too, but I just wanted to really just sink into something that I was going to enjoy the rest of my life. So if this is a career path that you are interested in, and you love it, I say just go for it, dive head first and do everything that you can to be great at it, because it just makes it that much more fun, really. And sets you apart. I hope I answered the question.
Carrie, what if you filled, thank you, Judi. Carrie, what if you filled Svasmira's question to Cynthia? Do you see it, Carrie?
Yes. So it says, other than studying, do you think working longer in the industry helped you gain further knowledge that allowed you to be successful on the exam? And what is your advice for someone fresh out of college who wants to pursue the NCIDQ?
Definitely. Yeah, I think there's nothing that beats hands-on experience. Like, you can be learning things from, studying, being in school, and you're learning them sort of on a surface level, versus working in the industry, you're really gaining that experience to really understand technically what these, like, mechanical, plumbing, electrical, to understand them in a deeper level. And that I hugely think that it comes from working in the field, being able to go out to, job sites if you have the opportunity to do that, working with the professionals above you. So like project managers and people, higher up in certain positions, and gaining all of that information helps you to understand and be able to decipher certain questions a little bit better. So I would say that's, definitely important. The second part is,
what would you recommend to someone who's just graduating and is on the NCIDQ track? So Svasmira graduates this semester. So what would you recommend for her?
Again, I think definitely go and take, go get on track to get your certification. Similar to what I said before, don't get discouraged if you do not pass exams the first time. You have 5 years to pass all sections of it. So I think you do need to give yourself a little bit of, that comfort and ease, that if you don't choose the route of taking all of the exams at the same time, that's okay. A lot of people go about things differently. So not to get discouraged and go through the whole process.
Great. Okay, Carrie, do we have other chat box questions?
Yep, just a few more.
Okay.
Judi, what exam tools did you use and study groups, and how familiar those tools in comparison to the exam?
Thanks, Miriam. Yes. Well, to be quite honest with you, when I first started studying, I got the books that they show on the NCIDQ. I got a couple of those books, and I started reading the books from cover to cover, highlighting like almost everything, because there was so much information that I thought, oh my gosh, this is important, like this equals this and that's so important. I literally didn't remember anything that I read. I'd read for hours and hours and hours on the bus on my way to work on my 2 to 3 hour commute every day. And each way. And so then, but once I learned, more about the Q, started really diving into the Q practice, which is an online program that, so the owner of it and the creator, her name is Lisa, and she talks about how they work with past exams and NCIDQ to understand what types of content are going to be included in the exam. So then they can go back and formulate a plan for all of us to take, and they break every section down. It's a 12-week program. So there's 3 months of study where you're taking 12-week of program lessons, right? Where you each week want to follow that very closely. I encourage you to front load that so that you can manage your week moving forward, depending upon what happens in your schedule. If you have to work one day, if you're not feeling well, however, or if you just need a break. Where was I going with that? So it's important to break that down, but then your 4th month, you'll still have access to the Q practice so that during your exam month, you can go back and refer to questions. For study groups, there's a study group on there that is everybody who's taking the Q practice can be a part of that study group. There are study group questions and answers. So if you have a question while studying, you can search that and try, and because somebody probably asked the same question before and somebody answered. I would agree that it's helpful to have people in your local world that are not on the computer to help you. For instance, my fiance is an electrical foreman. He works in Manhattan and he works on big buildings and has been around the construction industry for 35 years plus, right? So when I had questions, I would ask him, well, and I would work through the question and try to understand it. And sometimes he didn't know the answer, so we were trying to figure out together. So seek out people that you can have these conversations with. I think that that's really important. And if you're going to use the Q practice, don't wait till the last minute to do it all. Stick with it. Take it in small chunks. It's so much more enjoyable that way. You're going to learn so much more that way. And you don't have to read the book cover to cover. Lisa will tell you that. And you know, there's so much more to the Q practice, but I don't want to take, you know, too much time going into too much detail. I hope that helps, Miriam.
And then
Oh
I
yeah,
see
definitely. And Cynthia, if you have like different tools, please share with us. I would love to know these.
So similar to Judi, I also took Q practice. I came across it, and what's interesting too, during my test taking, that 5-year gap, some of the codes had changed. So NCIDQ has particular codes that were specific to how they wanted you to memorize certain numbers that were not common to our regular codes and standards. So I felt like in the midst of being between testing periods, I felt like a little unprepared now, because now I was studying a certain set of materials, and now I had to start like checking out to see what the differences were. That's when I came across Q practice, and similar to that, I took the 12-week program and used all of those tools. I also downloaded everything, right? Because if I was going to take a little bit longer, I wanted to have access to all of that information. So I downloaded everything that they can give us, from PDFs to, you know, everything, onto my computer, and I can always refer back to those materials if I needed.
Thank you. Carrie, I see there's a question specifically about working for architects, and maybe Diane could go first on that, and if Cynthia and Judi have anything to add.
Diane is licensing and certification a need to have to be hired by an architect today? Is it possible to be hired and be going through schooling?
I think it would be difficult to be working for an architect and be going through schooling. I would probably not do that until my last semester, my last year, because then you have a grasp of the basic knowledge. And then I think it'll be easier on you, because there's a lot of material out there. The architect is going through all kinds of wonderful projects that you would love to be on. So I wouldn't turn down a job working in an architect's office. But normally they're not going to give you the major kind of work. that they do, you know. So basically, I'd wait until I was in a more advanced level of schooling before I apply.
Okay.
And I
good.
had a study partner going through the exam, and that was fabulous.
For the accountability part of it, Diane, or bouncing off ideas, or all of the above? What would you
All
say?
of the above.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. We've heard that a lot. So I think everyone really should take that part and really think about that. Carrie, I just thought about something. Carrie Newman is a student who, Carrie, didn't you take the first part of the exam right after you graduated, or very soon after you graduated?
Yeah, I took it, I graduated in May and I took it the following April.
I mean, look, we've got a few minutes. Would you mind just sharing what that was like? Because I think that'll help. I know the students who are here, and I know there are going to be a lot. This is going to get shared, just so you all know. This recording is going to, not only is it going to live on the YouTube channel for ASID and get posted on our Facebook page and our other social media sites, it's also going to be shared with the directors of interior design schools in New Jersey to share with their students. And so I just think for students who are hoping to be on the NCIDQ track, hearing from you about what it was like to graduate in whatever May and then take it the following April, what was that like for you? And did you do Q prep?
Yes. So the IDFX I thought was very manageable for me to take, like just graduating school. And the material was familiar and I was fresh enough out of school where I was just kind of like reminding myself of it rather than like having to relearn everything. So that was definitely beneficial. And yes, I took Q practice, but I took that later. I think I started in like November and I went through just the beginning of April, because I got the study material. I had gotten the books off of like Facebook Marketplace, and that was definitely saved me so much money. So highly recommend that if you can find it through someone else. But I got those books and I just like read it over a lot that whole summer. And like I read through the chapters, whatever I didn't know, I highlighted, I wrote down and like emphasized that. And then what I did know and what I was familiar with, I kind of left that off to the side for the very end so that it was like a quick refresh. And then when I started Q practice, that was definitely the most beneficial because I didn't have an immediate study group like with people that were local, but having that group, it's like there's constantly people there who are able to help you. So you get an answer all the time rather than like kind of waiting to schedule to be with someone. So that's a benefit of that. And I did the Q practice through IIDA because I was a student IIDA member. So I was able to be in like a smaller study group with them, and we would meet every 2 weeks or so, kind of go through the questions, what we were all struggling with, and go through the answers together. And some of those students had taken the IDFX already. So I was kind of able to get more feedback from them. And really the biggest piece of advice I think I would say is to talk to as many people who have taken the exam as possible because they're going to give you the most true response. And yeah, I passed, so I think it went well.
Yeah, exactly. Brava. All right, I see there's one final question that I want to read out because it's a student of mine and I asked her just to be a little bit give me more to go on, and she has. This question is for all three of you for anything you would like to add, Diane, Cynthia, or Judi. She's wondering if having other certifications before taking the NCIDQ would help in preparing. And what she means by that is, for example, like LEED accreditation, green design certification, WELL AP, because she knows about all those accreditations and certifications, and she's wondering about how getting those certifications and accreditations might help in the NCIDQ/CID path or in journey. Does anyone have any experience with that? I would like to share that.
I mean, I could answer.
Yeah.
it.
Oh, right,
I know
Marina.
we
Yes,
have-
you
I mean,
absolutely.
I have all of those. I think I'm always for that. It's always great to keep on learning and getting all these certifications. But of course, like the topics are a little different than NCIDQ. And I think it just prepares you for, I guess, exam taking and just kind of just the learning process. So I think it's great to just keep, I enjoy doing the certifications. It definitely keeps you on your toes. So I think just it's always good. There's nothing negative about it, but yeah, if you can do it, why not?
Yeah. Judi, Cynthia, Diane?
I would not delay the NCIDQ examination. Lead and those can always be taken. They're a little more specific, just like Marina said, they're on slightly different aspects. So the NCIDQ is your profession's basic examination. I'd go straight for that one first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Diane. I think this is sort of your core that's going to get you, your professional certification. And then these others, NKBA or all of these other ones as well too. Those are in addition to the NCIDQ. And also I feel like, taking the IDFX coming out of college is a great way to get your foot in the door to different interior designs and architectural firms, so that you can get that work experience rather than just going in, where you're not getting that experience. And also there's a lot of competition out there, right? So this sets you apart from it all. And I think that the NCIDQ's rigor, like he said, Matt said, it's not easy, it's important, so it's not easy. Will help prepare you for some of these, what I've heard are very, also very challenging exams.
All right,
And
this
I
is
was just thinking, like, wouldn't it be great maybe in the future they could incorporate maybe some of the the lead topics into the NCIDQ exam, because I think again it's very specific and not everybody kind of cares, I guess, about those topics. But I think it would be fantastic if in the future maybe that would be incorporated into an NCIDQ. As a designer, I feel like everybody should definitely be mindful of those.
I think the theme of the night that I'd like to end on before I turn it over to Miriam to tell you all about tomorrow and Saturday's programming is, I hope what everyone who's here tonight and is later hearing this or watching this on their own is to recognize that we are a part of a profession that requires lifelong learning and education. And it's so important for us to recognize that our education will never be over. And these are milestones that we're talking about that just keep adding to the value and the knowledge that we are all able to then bring to our clients that set us apart from those who have not been on that particular journey. And I just, as someone who teaches professional practice, career management, and internship prep and internship courses, I know that's something I'm going to really stress this semester and moving forward, is that once you decide that you're on the NCIDQ path, you really should make sure that when you start your job search for post-graduation, that you make that a part of your objective and your cover letters and any communication you have with potential employers, so that they recognize that whether you take it this year or 5 years from now, you are an emerging professional who has this as a goal. And it would also be incredibly wise of you to seek employment with an NCIDQ certification holder and CID certified interior designer, so that they can attest to the hours that you are working, and so that you meet your hourly goal as soon as you can in order to move forward along that journey. So don't forget about that. Make it a part of your path. What you've been given tonight from Matt Barusch, Judi Crook, Cynthia Peralta-Brito, and Diane Gote is an incredible wealth of knowledge. Remember that this will live on, this recording. So I know it's a lot. You can access our recordings as many times as you need to. So think of this as a tool that you can visit again and again. Thank you so much, Diane, Cynthia, Judi, and Matt. We really appreciate the time that you and Carrie on the fly like that. She did not know I was going to ask her to talk about her experience. So thank you. And Mariam, I will turn it over to you now to talk about the next couple of days.
Yep. Thank you so much, everyone, especially our speakers. But just a reminder, tomorrow and Saturday, we have 2 exciting events. So tomorrow we have our showroom crawl. It's starting at 12:30. We will start at Window Treats. We are going to have a presentation by Elliot, the Window Treats owner. He's going to give us a presentation about all Window Treats, what you need to know. And then following that at 2, we are going to have Rim Miller from Design NJ magazine. He's going to share with everyone how to get published in the magazine. Following that, we're going to go to Sherwin-Williams store. And Window Treats is in Red Bank. Following that, in Shrewsbury, Sherwin-Williams with the CEU credit. If you guys need any credits, they're offering that as well, from 2:45 to 3:45. I'm also sending the link to register if any of you need to take that. Copy it now before the session ends. And then following that, on Saturday, we have 2 wonderful panels. So first, we will have from 10:30, we are going to have a professional development session. All you need to know to prepare for a interview, portfolio, and also how to prepare yourself. And then following that, from 12 sharp, we're going to have a mental health panel discussion and how to balance life and work at the same time. So we're going to have a beautiful panel that's set together, discuss how to balance life and work.
Thank you, Mariam. So again, all of our programming is free this week, but we would like you to register in advance so that our hosts tomorrow, the in-person, know how many people are going to be there, and then so that you get the Zoom link for this Saturday programming. This has been a wonderful program. Marina, would you like to, any final closing words that you as our president would like to share?
Can I just ask a question real quick?
Yes.
Before Marina closes? Is your program on Saturday going to be also recorded? Because I think
yes, absolutely, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes.
Marina, you muted
Marina.
I was just being silly. I was just saying then we can do our hair and makeup. Yes. Thanks, Judi. Good question. I would just like to thank everybody for being here, and I'm just so happy that people are interested in taking the exam. I think that's great, and I would just say just do it. I think it's the hardest part is to start. I did my well exam during the pandemic, as I guess Judi was doing the NCIDQ. That was not easy, but I think you just set your mind to it and just schedule it in. I think that's the key. That's one of the other things that I wanted to mention. As long as you schedule it in, I think it's very doable. This way, that's the day. And just good luck, everyone. And I hope to hear all about everybody's successes very soon.
All right. Thank you all so very much. Wishing you all a good night. And I hope that we get to see you either live tomorrow in person or on Zoom on Saturday. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.